as it relates to this, I want to learn how to take I have certain wishes. If you're honest, you do too. And I want to learn how to take them to the appropriate places that God has provided for me in this season. Remember the principle. Paul learned how to leverage the right relationships, and he learned how to minimize the toxicity of the wrong ones. Very quickly, that took a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I felt so impressed to share that. The third type of relationship you have to master en route to your destiny, and that's simply relationships at a distance. Relationships at a distance. 2 Timothy 4, verse 11. Let's start at verse 10 again. I want to keep emphasizing this point. For Demas has forsaken me, having loved this present world, and has departed for Thessalonica, Crescens for Galatia, Titus for Dalmatia. Only Luke is with me. Get Mark and bring him with you, for he is useful to me for the ministry. And Titius I have sent to Ephesus. Bring the cloak that I left in Carpus at Troas when you come, and the books, especially the parchments. Now here we go, verse 19. Greet Priscilla and Aquila, 4:19, and the household of Onesiphorus. What's Paul doing? He's saying, along my Christian journey, these are people who came across my path. These are people who drove me to church. These are people who lent me CDs and books. These are people who got in agreement with me in prayer. He says, when you go there, greet them. Tell them I said, what's up? You see, you and I both know when people aren't in the same location with you, it's very difficult maintaining relationships. Think about the relationships you formed in this room or at church by the sheer fact that, or with some degree of regularity, you see the people. And then think about the good friends you have that you don't see because there's not some sort of embedded system to bring your paths together. And think about how hard it is to hook up sometimes. I have college basketball. One of my college basketball buddies is celebrating his 40th birthday. And he said for his 40th birthday, he wanted to have all the guys from basketball come together for a dinner. And we've been trying to work on this thing for like 6 months. Because people have kids, people have work, people have all sorts of obligations. It's very difficult. But Paul said, greet them. Now, for the sake of time, one of the primary reasons, there are many reasons, but one of the primary reasons that I want to talk about why you have to master relationships at a distance is when you get in trouble, listen carefully, oftentimes it's the people at a distance who can help you the most because they're more objective and they're not caught up in the emotional turmoil. You're having a problem with your family. You're having a problem at work. I know as a minister, as someone who represents God, some of my most beneficial relationships are with ministers in other states that I went to Bible school with. You know why? Because I can tell them all the details. I can say, man, you should see how this woman Helen treated me. They don't know who Helen is, but I can say her name and I can release it out of my system. Or you should see how this dude treated me or whatever. What's my point? They can be more objective. They're not so invested in the situation, or they're not biased by perhaps relationships or political ties or whatever dynamic is created. You need people who can objectively speak into your life without feeling the weight of the turmoil or the emotion. But if you don't have those types of relationships, you're not benefiting from it. Relationships at a distance. Are there people who played a role? Even just in a moment of honesty, sometimes we'll be in the office and we'll be thinking about, we tithe off the money you give us. And Ed May will tell you, I'm not even proud of this, but there are men who have significantly shaped my life. Professors, instructors from Bible school over 8 years ago. Their ministries have had some of the greatest impact. You're benefiting from their ministries. And I said, Ed May, when we're thinking about who we're going to send offerings to, I said, this is a shame, man. I haven't even written brother so-and-so in 3 years to thank him I got a room full of people who are benefiting from the sacrifice of his life. I haven't even sent him an offering yet. I haven't even written him a letter of encouragement. And she'll tell you, I can feel very convicted. It's a challenge, but we have the tools. It's amazing what a text can mean, a phone call, an email. You know, one of the things that I'm blessed by is sometimes, you know, when we give these monies away, it's amazing. It's just a small thing, but a thank you letter from the churches or the ministries, expressing gratitude. If you're going to fulfill your destiny, you've got to be more intentional about maintaining relationships at a distance. Relationships with people who've come across your path. Relationships with people that God is strategic. You don't want to be casual. Don't be out of sight, out of mind. Have a place that you can go outside of your immediate community. Have a safe place. It's probably those relationships at a distance, that's probably some of the places you can go to take that wish to that we just alluded to, that's not being met in your family of origin. Let me close with this. He said to greet the household of Onesiphorus. In 2 Timothy 1:16, it said, "The Lord grant mercy to the household of Onesiphorus, for he often refreshed me. He often refreshed me, and he was not ashamed of my chains." Now, they may have been physical chains because he was in prison, but the word chain could also represent problems or bondage or things that had him tied up. Because Paul was smart enough to maintain his relationships at a distance, notice that this person, Onesiphorus, who often refreshed him, notice he was able to benefit from that relationship when he had chains or problems or bondages or things that had him tied down. Why? Because he was smart enough to maintain, he was smart enough to discern in his spirit, you know what? There's something, this person's a little bit more compassionate. I can tell when I'm talking, they're listening to me. When they make eye contact with me, I can tell they get it. He was smart enough to discern that God was using this person. And he said, I'm not going to be casual with this. So he said, make sure you greet the household, let them know, I appreciate you. So we're going to pick up here next week. Amen? Amen.